Hey guys, welcome. I'm Cassie. Today I want to start off by just saying if you are living in Victoria or anywhere else in the world that is experiencing this lockdown situation, this isolation period, I know it is super crappy. I am definitely feeling the emotional roller coaster ride as well. But I still believe that there is so much good in the world, that we have so many positives in the world, and we have so much to be grateful for. So each day, just try to find some positives, try to find some things to be grateful for, and hang in there, because fingers crossed, we're going to be out of here soon and back into the real world having lots of fun. Until then, let's have some fun on our mats today. I've had a couple of requests to take a look at crow pose. So today we're going to take a look at crow pose and also crane pose. Crow pose being the bent arm variation of our arm balance, and crane pose moving into that straight arm variation of the pose. So crow pose is our foundational pose of our arm balances, and it stems from chaturanga arms. So if you haven't already had a look at the chaturanga tutorial, go back and check that one out and get a really good understanding of the arm position for chaturanga, because this moves forward into all of your arm balances. Today we're going to start off, we're going to have a look at crow pose a couple of different ways, and then like I said, we'll move into crane pose. We're going to start off actually laying on our backs today. We're going to take gravity out of the situation and take our hands and the arm balancing part out of the equation to start with, while we just get an understanding of what the rest of the pose should feel like. So let's come down onto our backs. And here, I'm just going to take my hands up towards the ceiling. I want to think about the hand position that I would have if I had my hands onto the floor. Okay, so I'm still spreading my fingers nice and wide, and then imagining that I am pushing the ceiling away from me. So I am protracting my shoulder blades apart, meaning that I am separating my shoulder blades away from each other. From here, I'm just going to lift my feet off the floor, start to engage through my pelvic floor and my lower belly. So pelvic floor draws in and up, navel draws in towards the spine and up towards the heart. I keep pushing the ceiling away, and then from here I lift my shoulders off the floor as I push the ceiling away. Just tuck my chin in here, draw the knees up into the underarms, point the toes, pull the heels towards the buttocks, and shorten the gap between the hips and the ribs. Stay here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And slowly come down. Let's take a rest, take a stretch. And then from here we'll come up. So this is a really great way to just understand what the pose feels like before we come up and we start to balance on our hands. So let's take a look, coming into a squat position. Our first variation we're going to look at is a more flat crow. And this is a really great place to start if you haven't done any arm balancing before and you just want to get an understanding of the pose. Okay, so we take the hands down and the hands are shoulder distance apart. We spread the fingers nice and wide. We want to make that hand connection that I've spoken about in all the previous videos. Okay, so fingers spread nice and wide, index finger facing forward. Press down into the fingertips, press down into the knuckles of the pad of the hand. Draw the little finger and thumb towards each other without moving them. Thumb and index finger towards each other without moving them. And then opening that jam jar. We want to start to switch on through the muscles that we need to access for our arm balancing. From here, feet are together, big toes together, balls of the feet together, heels slightly apart, and my knees come up above my elbows, but to the outside of my arms. I squeeze my inner thighs in towards the arms, and then from here, engage the pelvic floor and the lower belly, separate the shoulder blades, and start to shift my weight forward into my fingertips. As I do this, you can see chaturanga arms. I lift one foot off and come down. Take a rest. From here, come back into position and lift the other foot off. Come back down. So you just start to get a feel for what it feels like to shift that weight forward, to take the weight into the fingertips, and to have more weight moving forward than it is moving back. If this starts to feel light, again you come forward, might get nice and light in the toes, and both feet lift off. And you come down. So in that variation, you can see that my hips are still quite low, and I'm just playing with that balancing aspect of it while understanding the pose and how we activate the body to do that pose. Now I'm going to come into crow pose, where we bring the knees up into the triceps, into that underarm area. Now this is where we often find that people end up with some bruises, okay? That badge of honor as we're learning our arm balances. When you're in that crow pose that's quite flat, you can see that the energy is quite low to the ground. It's drawing down. As we move into this next variation, we want to have that upward energy, that upward lift, so that we're not putting too much pressure downward and creating that heaviness through the backs of the arms and the knees, where we get those bruises. Okay, so we come down into that same position, come into that squat position, big toes together, heels slightly apart, find that hand connection, and then this time I lift the hips up and I take the knees in towards that upper arm area, into the back of the tricep. I grip with the fingertips, separate the shoulder blades. Okay, so actually I'll just say, when I say separate the shoulder blades, you want to think about your cat back. Okay, so that separation of the shoulder blades rather than retraction. So pulling the shoulder blades apart. Okay, so come back into that position. Knees come up, separate the shoulder blades, take the weight into the fingers, engage through the pelvic floor and the lower belly, shorten the gap between the hips and the ribs, keep moving the energy forward into the fingertips. Toes become light, maybe I lift one off, now I lift the other one off, and then I come down and I take a rest. So here we get to feel what this variation feels like with the knees up higher. Just lifting one foot off, taking a rest, and then lifting the other foot off. Once that feels pretty good, and you're feeling that lightness through the toes, you come up, shift your weight forward into the fingertips, and then the toes become light and they lift off the floor. Okay, keep doming the upper back, keep engaging through the pelvic floor and lower belly. And come down. So you really want to start to shift that weight forward into the fingertips so that the toes become light and they just get that magical, beautiful float up off the floor. You don't want to be kicking your feet up. You don't want to be in a, we all get into that. We just want the pose now and we try to kick the feet off the floor and rush the process. So don't do that. Instead, just keep taking the weight forward and the feet will become light and they will lift off the floor. Now, one thing I do want to just touch on is often when I see people practicing this, we are so focused on the hands and the arms and just getting the feet off the floor that we forget about the legs, and the legs and the feet become lazy. Okay, so what that looks like as I come into the pose, I'm so focused on moving forward, feet become light, and then they come off the floor and they're just hanging there. Okay, instead, what I'm going to do is, as I take the weight forward and the feet become light, then what I'm going to do is engage the legs. So I want to engage through the back of the hamstring. The back of the thigh. I want to engage the hamstring. I want to point my toes and pull my heel towards my buttocks. So what that looks like is this. Knees into upper arms, engage pelvic floor, lower belly, separate the shoulder blades, take the weight forward, look forward, move with the chin and the chest. So we move the weight forward into the fingertips, feet become light, they start to come off the floor. Now engage the legs, pull the heels towards the buttocks, point the toes, get that upward energy lifting. And then come down and rest. So you can see, and you can definitely feel it when you do it, that the pose becomes lighter and you get this upward energy lift rather than this drawing down energy. And now we're going to take all of that into crane pose, which is just your straight arm variation. So to get that straight arm variation, I'm going to continue to get that upward lift by pulling the heels to the buttocks, pointing the toes, engaging through the pelvic floor and the lower belly, pushing the floor away as I separate the shoulder blades, and I'm going to move my shoulders slightly forward past the plane of the wrist as I straighten my arms. Now this can become quite challenging on the wrist, so just really listen to your wrist, take care of your wrist. If it becomes too much, just come into the variation. This is totally fine. This is just another step for you to work towards as you start to play with your arm balances and find different variations and different transitions that are suitable for you. So as we come into it, everything's exactly the same. Hips lift, start to move forward. I'm going to start in that bent arm variation, okay? Push everything away from the floor, get that upward energy lift as I start to straighten the arms, weighting to fingertips, and then slowly come down. And rest. Remember to take care of your wrists, give them a little bit of a shake, cool down, and remember to always warm up your wrists before you come into arm balancing. If you come to classes, you know our warm up routine, make sure that you're doing that. And don't rush the process, guys. Take it nice and slow. Just enjoy the process of learning and growing. Be patient, okay? This is tough. I know we all just want everything yesterday, well, I do anyway. So be patient, trust yourself, believe in yourself. I definitely believe in all of you guys. So jump on your mats, have a play, remember to have fun and do your best. The pose will come when it's supposed to. Good job, guys. I'll see you soon.